In this week's drive, we take the traditional line straight to the scene of the accident, enjoy a quick ride through the Australian Red Centre, chase the champ and knock him down, and endure a long bush drive to nowhere. All this and more in this week's Drive. We start this week with the 73rd running of the most famous long-distance endurance road race. 3 times Le Mans winner Henri Pescarolo now runs his own team. His 2 cars started on the front row of the grid. The second crew included World Rally champion Sébastien Loeb. Aston Martin made a return to the race that they last won in 1959. Despite this, French hopes of a dominant victory at Le Mans were high as the clock ticked down to the 4 p.m. Saturday start. With temperatures topping 30 degrees Celsius, drivers were keen to get rolling. Most cars got away smoothly for the warm-up lap, but Tony Gosselin stalled his Courage Ford and had to start from pit lane. There was a great start for the Pescarolo team, with pole starter Jean-Christophe Boulon just getting there ahead of Sohail Ayari, with Ryo Mishigami and the all-Japanese Dome Mugen team moving up to 3rd. For a race lasting a whole day and night, the first corner was contested as keenly as if it were the prelude to a 10-lap sprint. From the green light, Boulon and Ayari set about creating distance between themselves and the field with their Pescarolo Judds, some 15 miles an hour quicker than the rest. Open-top sports prototype cars are a Le Mans tradition. Fast, stable, light, good handling, and their wide bodywork creates massive downforce. Ayari, sharing driving duties with Eric Hellery and World Rally champion Sébastien Loeb, was trying his hardest to keep pace with his teammate in front, but the only problem Boulon seemed to be having early on was getting past awkward backmarkers. The large field included various production-based cars such as Corvette, Porsche, and the pair of Works Aston Martins. The famous Mulsanne Straight, normally a public road, has 3 chicanes nowadays to slow down the cars when some reach nearly 400 kilometers an hour. At 100 kilometre an hour less, it's still the place where drivers can get their breath back and relax a little. The last French victory was for a Peugeot in 1993, and since then German Audis and BMWs and a British Bentley have been the victors. But French hopes took a knock after the first 2 hours when the Pescarolos began a series of pit stops for minor mechanical problems to be fixed. After 42 laps, the number 2 Audi inherited the lead. Back down the field, 12th placed Sam Hancock was leading the LM2 class in his Intersport Racing Lola, with fellow Brit Darren Turner heading the GT standings in his Aston Martin. Ayari made a pit stop for fuel less than half an hour into the race, but opted not to change tyres. Turner's early charge was blunted by a stop-and-go penalty, handing the GT class lead to the Corvette of Oliver Gavin, Livia Beretta and Jan Magnussen. But the Pescarolos continued carving through the field, trying to make up for their frequent stops, here barging past JJ Lehto's Audi for 6th place. Michael Crumb's Dallara Nissan suffered mechanical trouble and became an obstacle to quicker cars as he attempted to limp back to the pits. The race, which involves driving as many laps as you can around the 13.5 kilometre track in 24 hours, is for 4 classes. 2 Le Mans prototype, LM1 and 2 classes for specially built sports cars, and 2 GT classes for more recognisable sports cars from manufacturers like Ferrari, Aston Martin and Corvette. Naturally, a car with a roof is a much nicer place to be when it rains. The open-topped cars are essentially open-wheel Formula cars fitted with bodywork and a rudimentary second seat to comply with rules for so-called sports cars. For some, brain fade set in as the shadows lengthened. Jean-Marc Gounon was at the wheel of the Oreca Audi when it went out with terminal engine problems. Dane Tom Christensen, who shared an Audi R8 with German Marco Werner and Finn JJ Lehto, was trying to beat the previous record of 6 wins set by Belgian Jackie Ickx between 1969 and 1982. As night falls, it's harder to track the course of the race, and a whole village of entertainment assembles every year, although some die-hard fans do stay awake and sit through the entire 24 hours of racing. Of course, pit stops in endurance racing also involve driver changes. The task is shared by 2, 3 or even 4 drivers, and the adjustment of the safety harnesses, and often changing the driver's personal seat insert, is practiced as much as tyre changing and refueling drills. Between stops, teams can rest easy. World Rally champion Sebastian Loeb's hopes for Le Mans honours on his debut were dashed when his Pescarolo was damaged in an accident. Frenchman Ayari was back at the wheel when he missed a turn and crashed into a tyre barrier after 288 laps, or about 3/4 of the race, and was forced to retire. The strong assault of Aston Martin failed on Sunday morning. After strong showings during the night, both of the British cars failed, handing victory in the class to the US Corvettes. Heavier and less powerful than the Pescarolo prototypes, the Audis once again lived up to their reputation for being extremely reliable. The Pescarolo, driven by Frenchmen Eric Comas, Emmanuel Collard and Jean-Christophe Boulon, moved back up through the field to finish in second place. The winners would cover almost 5,000 kilometres in 24 hours. There were reminders of less happy times, the organisers commemorating the 50th anniversary of the most serious crash in the race's history. In 1955, Pierre Levesque's Mercedes hit Lance Macklin's Austin Healey before flying into the crowd, and 79 people died. A commemorative plaque was unveiled on the straight a week before this year's race. Christensen took the lead in the 4th hour of the race, and Audi held off the challenge from Pescarolo. The Dane, a national hero at home, also drove the final stint in the race to take the flag for a record 7th time. The 37-year-old won the world's most famous endurance race at his first attempt in 1997 and every year since the year 2000. Frenchmen Comas, Collard and Boulon finished second for Pescarolo, 2 laps behind. Another Audi, driven by Briton Alan McNish, German Frank Bieler and Italian Emmanuel Pirro, came home third, 6 laps off the pace.
Thank you very much at Champion Racing to ask Audi for me to join them. These boys put a fantastic car up for us. The tires were working standing up. I could have stayed almost all afternoon on the same set. Thanks for the great fight to Pescarolo. I know they're disappointed now, but they really did a fantastic achievement. The good old baby, the R8, is going to museum. Dr. Ulrich, I'll be honored to drive it to the museum. It has been a fantastic, a pleasure, privilege, dream to be part of this.
Audi has now won at Le Mans 5 times in the last 6 years. It was also a hot and humid afternoon over in Pennsylvania as the stock cars roared to the line on the Tri-Oval in Long Pond. Just 28 laps into the race, Kurt Busch in the number 97 car spun and tapped Terry Labonte. Had Labonte not been there, Busch would probably have slammed into the outside wall.
But Larry, what that tells me is they're just not going that fast through the center of that corner to be able to slow them down and save them that way. I'm gonna tell you what, lucky Terry Labonte.
On lap 44, Jason Leffler suffered a blown tyre, one of 8 drivers to suffer tyre failure. Leffler was then crashed into by Dave Blaney. Dale Earnhardt also lost rubber and limped into the pits on 3 wheels, a hub and a sheet of sparks. On the 147th lap, Kevin LePage's car suddenly veered into the outside wall. There were just 6 laps left when Ryan Newman's left front tyre went flat and he pounded the wall. The second time in the race that Newman, 6th at the time, had lost his left front tyre.
Left front. Carl Edwards did not need that. Brian Vickers did not need that.
Then, with just 1 lap left, Bobby Labonte hit the outside wall. The race would end under a caution flag on lap 202 as Carl Edwards coasted to his 2nd race win of the season. Edwards is now in 4th place in the points race following his victory, 299 points behind leader Jimmy Johnson. With his win, he set a Pocono record for winning from the lowest position in the field. He started from 29th and broke Terry Labonte's record from 1995 when he won from 27th place. The Missouri driver, who celebrated his first NASCAR victory with a backflip from the window of his car in Atlanta 3 months ago, performed his acrobatic victory celebration once again. Perfect weather conditions, flat seas and an army of fans greeted the flotilla of high-octane revved-up vessels as the bustling port of Anzio in Italy hosted the 2nd round of the powerboat P1 World Championship. Two classes were run simultaneously, the Evolution and Supersport categories respectively. Championship leaders Sony took an early lead in the Evolution class. They were followed by Austria's Wettpunkt.com, who overtook OSG Donzi to move up into second place. Meanwhile, in the Supersport class, Buzzy Bullet, Jolly Drive and Ober Ober were vying for the lead. Buzzy Bullet overhauled their rivals to hit the front, with Ober Ober ahead of championship leaders Jolly Drive. In the Evolution class, Sony reached over 90 miles an hour to win the first race. Buzzy Bullet shot across the finishing line to win the first Supersport class race at 66 miles an hour. There was time for the Sony team to pop the champagne corks on Saturday evening before Sunday's final two races. After some minor last-minute mechanical tweaks by engineers as they read the water and weather conditions, crews lined up for Sunday's shorter race. Once again, crowds lined the harbour as the Sony outfit passed early race leaders and compatriots OSG Donzi in the Evolution class. However, it was game over for Thurea, who came third on Saturday, as an expensively terminal engine failure put them out. Further back, Buzzy Bullet and Jolly Drive vied for the lead in the Supersport class. It was a classic battle as they fought out race 2 for the top spot on the points table. Meanwhile, the all-conquering Sony team crossed the line to win race 2 over a shortened course of 9 laps. OSG Donzi crossed the finish line second, while Feinplast completed an Italian 1-2-3 in the bigger class.
For this, our home Grand Prix, we were racing in our most feared rival's backyard, Panata. We managed to win on a very flat sea, despite the fact that our boat is not suited to these conditions.
British outfit Buzzy Bullet matched Sony's achievements, winning both races in the Supersport class. 700,000 people watched in amazement as Rotterdam played host to round 2 of the Air Race World Series, where top pilots from around the world competed for supremacy of the skies. The course places huge demands on the competitors' flying skills. The extreme format involves pilots manoeuvring between giant pylons along the course and flying under the city's famous Erasmus Bridge over the Maas River at the starting line. The huge crowd along the banks of the river saw America's Mike Mangold, who was penalty-free in all of his outings on Sunday, post a combined time of 3 minutes, 5.78 seconds in his Edge 540, to finish a clear 8 seconds ahead of second-placed Klaus Schrott of Germany and Hungarian pilot Peter Bessenye in third. Just to hammer home his advantage, the 50-year-old from California saved his fastest for last as he completed round 2 in an event-best 1 minute 31.64 seconds. Schrott, at 58, the oldest competitor in the World Series, finished with a combined time of 3 minutes 14.18 seconds, while Bessenye, winner in Abu Dhabi, posted 3 minutes and 15 seconds. The next fastest run of the day came from Mangold's compatriot Kirby Chambliss, also in an Edge 540. But Chambliss, who was second after round 1, saw his chances of a podium finish disappear when he picked up a 3-second penalty for puncturing one of the bollards with his tail fin. The American had to settle for 4th spot by less than 2 seconds.
Mike was about a second ahead of me, and I knew I was going to have to be really fast in order to beat him. I knew he would be fast, so as I came through the one, I banked just a little bit too hard, and when I went back to the knife edge, I knew the airplane was slipping just a little bit, so I knew it was all I would do is push the tail into it.
Well, the conditions, I think, were ideal. The temperature's cool. I liked the way the wind was blowing crosswind, and hopefully I used the wind in my favor to give me a little better line through the course. I was also able to improve on my speed at the start. I just slowly kept increasing at each run, so I felt very happy with it on the last run.
How were the conditions?
More G's, 11.6, that's the most I pulled, and it was kind of hairy out there in a few gates. I mean, just getting the wings through, you need to have them as you go through the pylon. So I'm happy I made it through.
After 2 rounds, Bessenye leads the title with 6 points. Britain Steve Jones is second with 5, Mangold third on 4 points. The next round is in Zeltweg in Austria. The 30th running of the Finke Desert Race took place in midwinter in the Red Centre of Australia. The event attracts competitors from all over Australia and brings international media attention to Alice Springs and the Northern Territory. A grueling affair over 460 kilometres, the Finke Desert Race is run between Alice Springs, the largest town in Central Australia, and the Aputula Aboriginal community some 230 kilometres to the south at the old Finke railway settlement. The Finke attracts 12,000 spectators, practically the entire community of Alice Springs, and embodies the spirit of Central Australia. This year's winners in the car section were the father and son team of Shannon and Ian Wrench from Warrnambool in the southern state of Victoria, who finished second last year. The Wrench Chenoweth 2-litre buggy completed the event 3 minutes and 24 seconds ahead of Mark Burrows and Michael Shan. Darwin police officer Jason Hill won the bikes race riding a Honda CRF 450 in dramatic fashion. He finished day one of the event in 5th position and didn't take the lead until 7 kilometres from the finish in Alice Springs. Overnight leader, local rider Ben Brooks, had been passed by Gavin Chapman, and it was thought to be a race between the two before Hill started to apply the pressure. Hill's previous best result at Finke was second place back in 1997. Some brave souls even tackled the red centre on quads. Hard work indeed on the ruts and in the thick, soft sand. It's not all M5s and Rolls-Royces here at Drive. Renault launched a new baseline car range, the Logan, on the French market in early June at an initial price of €7,500. Designed to be sturdy, roomy and above all cheap, the Romanian-built Dacia Logan is billed as the perfect car for emerging markets. Dacia manufactured 20,000 Logans in 2004, sold mainly in Eastern European countries like Romania, Hungary and the Czech Republic. The basic model comes with ABS brakes, 2 front airbags and headrests for all seats. Options like electric windows are only available on more expensive models, but fully spec'd, the price rises to €9,000.
This vehicle has a modern 1.4-litre to 1.6-litre engine. It is a very well-equipped car as regard to the prices of the competition. It is also a car with a great capacity compared to the competition, mostly cars from Korea. And above all, for the price, this vehicle is very secure. It has the anti-lock brake system, for example, which is essential for the French market. Renault is aiming this vehicle at Western Europe, and recently we decided to launch it in Brazil and in India, which means that the forecast for 2010 is more like 1 million vehicles rather than 700,000. With the right side driving position in India, it will open up new prospects for Logan.
However, the Logan falls well short of performance and safety levels that Western Europe expects, and it's a Dacia, a name synonymous with communist-era rust buckets. Billed as the €5,000 car, impossible even in Romania, the Logan is still an affordable mid-sized car, €4,000 cheaper than similar-sized Nissans or the Seat Cordoba. Run on a permanent car and motorcycle test track, the 4th round of the Supermoto World Championship took place in Melk, about 100 kilometres up the Danube from Vienna. For Austrian bike builder KTM, the event was a good opportunity for their products to shine on home soil. The opening race of the smaller S2 class was a close contest with KTM rider Boris Chambon winning a duel on the last lap with French compatriot Adrien Charrier, passing the Husqvarna rider on the entry to the dirt section and holding on to clinch the 20-lap encounter. In the second race, it was Aprilia rider Frederic Bolli who seized the initiative, winning the race comfortably from Chambon, with Charrier filling the final spot to complete a French trifecta. But Chambon won round 4 overall, courtesy of his first and second places. In the overall standings, Belgium's Eddie Seal, who finished a disappointing 8th and 4th in the 2 races, still leads with 142 points, and Chambon moves to 3rd with 117. In the S1 class, reigning world champ Thierry van den Bosch took an early lead in race 1. But the Frenchman suffered a mechanical problem and stopped briefly, finishing 16th in the 29-man field. With his biggest rival out of contention, Germany's Bernd Heimer withstood the challenge of the 2 Husqvarna riders, Belgium's Gerald Delapine and Ivan Lazzarini of Italy, and won the 20-lap race. In race 2, Van den Bosch's bad luck continued. After the Frenchman made a mistake turning into the dirt section mid-race and was passed by Heimer, the KTM rider was forced out of the race on lap 14 after Delapine crashed into him. The incident opened up an insurmountable gap to Heimer, and he cruised to the finish line on his KTM to complete the double. Italy's Max Manzo was second, with Christian Idden of Britain third. The next round of the Supermoto World Championship will be in Ireland in July. Van den Bosch's poor showing, just 5 points from the two races, drops the Frenchman to third. Hymer's maximum 50 points promotes him into the title lead, and Delapine is next with 155. And finally, this is the Rhino Charge, an event like no other, where contestants try and beat each other by literally beating their vehicles to death in the Kenyan bush. Sometimes the odd tree or shrub that's in the way might not be spared either, in the battle to complete the course with the shortest mileage and in the shortest time. The Rhino Charge was started in 1989 with the aim of raising funds to fence off the Aberdare National Park in central Kenya. Apart from being a national park with diverse wildlife, the Aberdare is the main source of drinking water for the Kenyan capital of Nairobi and a very important source of biodiversity. However, due to population growth, human-wildlife conflict was on the increase in the early 80s, hence the need to stop animals from raiding farms, which resulted in farmers killing wildlife. It's estimated that when the project is completed in 2007, the entire Aberdare National Park's 320-kilometre boundary will have been fenced. This year's challenge was held in the expansive Masai Mara Game Reserve and had a total of 60 starters, of which only a handful would limp to the finish 10 hours later. Competitors are given a map and a large expanse of unspoilt Africa and then let loose. It's a crazy challenge, only for those who are brave enough to face the toughness of the African wilderness at its most rugged, and have a huge amount of fun in the process. Even veterans like Manny Choda, who has competed in the event 13 times, found the going a bit tough this year.
We're not doing so well. We did the most difficult part first. Now we are fighting with time. We're gonna do it.
The challenge of the event is for the contestants to reach 10 control points, whose whereabouts were only revealed to the entrants the night before, and each post is set up in a remote and tricky location. The teams of up to 6 people set off at dawn with hours of difficult driving ahead of them to reach all 10 checkpoints by the shortest route possible. The toughest sections included 3 control posts known as the Gauntlet, where competitors are forced to make daredevil manoeuvres to get through, and many get hopelessly stuck.
So many people break down in this event. So many cars you hear of break prop shafts or tie rod ends or whatever it might be, half shafts. So just to finish the course is actually quite an achievement, or quite lucky, perhaps a better way of putting it.
This year's winner wasn't a big surprise to most, car 42 of the Carr-Hartley brothers. They won the event in 2003 and have finished in the top 3 for the last 4 years.
We spent about 4 hours doing the planning the night before, and that effort paid off. I think half the charge was actually won the night before. We decided that we're going to do the gauntlet early, before all the traffic gets there and people start blocking the only 1 or 2 routes that one can go through.
And as the sun went down in the Mara, competitors and spectators put aside the wear and tear of the day and settled down to a party and celebrations of the traditional kind. So, whether you're setting records, staying afloat, or just in a spin, so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.